If you're a Roblox developer but suck at building, then this video is for you. We're going to be going over the main things that separate trash builders from good builders, and also some secret tips that I've learned from making maps in Roblox for over a year now. So the first thing we're going to be going over is how to use Roblox's building system, which in my opinion is horrible, but it's really good to start learning. Alright, so when you start a new base plate in Roblox Studio, it might look a little different than mine, but that's okay. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to spawn an actual part, which is in the top here right next to the toolbox. You can click part and spawn one in. Now, a shortcut to remember is clicking F on your keyboard will bring you directly to that part. I'm going to put a list of keybinds that you should probably learn if you want to get good at building. Now, there are many different types of parts that you can see right here. We have a block, sphere, wedge, corner wedge, and cylinder, and you can click either one just to spawn them in. But for now, I'm going to show you how to do stuff with the cube. So right now I'm in select. Now we have move, which lets you move it up, down, left, right, forward, and back. We have the scale, which lets you scale it in any direction. Then we have the rotate, which pretty much just lets you rotate it in any direction as well. Next, some important things you should probably know is collisions and join surfaces right here. Now, if you want to make this part on the floor but not glitch through it, like this, for example, and you don't want it to glitch through the floor, that's when you would turn collisions on. So say I don't want it to glitch through the floor, turn collisions on, click the part. Now it'll hit exactly on the floor with no gap on the inside. Or sorry, no gap between the bottom block in this part. The next thing we're going to be going over is how to actually change the different variables that this part has, which is color, transparency, reflectance, material, shadows, a lot more. So if you look in the right side of your screen, there should be a properties tab. If there isn't, all you have to do is come over to view here, and then you'll see properties on the top left. And once you have this open here, you can change the brick color, which pretty much just shows common colors to be used. Or you can change the color, which is pretty much just your own color that is unique to you, I guess. And then you can see the transparency here, which pretty much just means, can you see through this block or can you not? 0 means you can't see through it, and 1 means you can see through it. Next, we're going to be looking at the reflectance, which is mostly used for glass parts. So if I change this to a nice blue color and I turn the reflectance up, it's pretty much just going to make it shiny like a mirror. And then we have the material part here where you can change the material of it. There's a lot that comes with Roblox, so you can choose anyone that's going to fit your build. So I'm just going to show you like mud looks like this. If we changed it to a browner color, that's the mud. Now, one important thing you're going to want to know is the anchor part right up here. So if you don't have it anchored, let me just show you real quick. The block will fall, but if you do have the block anchored, it will stay at that position and not fall. So pretty much it's just like gravity or not gravity. And when building houses, you're going to want to make sure everything's anchored, or else pretty much the entire house is going to fall apart. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to actually make windows and stuff like that in houses, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to build just a small little demonstration house right here. Okay, sure. So this is my house. It's ugly, but that's okay. We're going to make it beautiful here in a second. So say we want a door in this house so the player could actually enter, right? What we would do is put a part in the middle here. We're going to want to push it through using the scale in the top left. And then you're just going to want to make the shape of the door. So bring it down, left, right. I want a double door, so let's just do this. Now, what you're going to want to do is go to model. The model section is going to have everything to do with the Roblox parts. So we're going to have the select, move, scale, rotate, and transform, which I can show a little later. It's pretty much just these combined. But then we're also going to have the rotate and move, which lets you rotate it and move it like a certain amount. But what we're going to be looking at is the solid modeling here. We have union, intersect, negate, separate. So what we're going to want to do is negate this actual part right here. So it's going to turn a little red color. And then we're going to want to select the part that we want to make the door with. So all I'm going to do is hold control and click this part right here. So now we have both selected. And then we're going to want to click the union button right here. And what that's going to do is create the door for you. Now you might want to actually make the block go a little bit down so that it removes the bottom part. We're going to try that again. And perfect. Now you have a door and you can make windows, roofs, pretty much anything with this. It's actually pretty useful. Now, one important aspect of building is symmetry, and you pretty much want to make sure all of your buildings and stuff like that is symmetrical. So I'm going to show you how to make them symmetrical right now. So if you go into the model tab, as I said before, you're going to see the move and rotate. This allows you to pretty much just set the amount that you can move something. So right now I have it set to 5 studs. I'll show you. So now when I try and move it, it locks it at a 5 stud movement. And say we changed it to like 20, it would be locked at a 20 stud movement. So just like this. So if we wanted a house to be completely even, we would put it right here, duplicate it, 1, 2, 3. Okay, do that. And then say we wanted to rotate it 180, I would turn on this rotation, and then you should be able to make sure it's locked so it's all perfect. Sometimes you're gonna have to turn this off, uncheck it so that you can make sure everything's even. And that's pretty much all I'm gonna show you for the Roblox section, because honestly, I hate building in Roblox. I think this next app that we're gonna use is a lot better for creating high quality builds. So the next app we're gonna be using is called Blender. Don't worry, it's completely free to use at blender.org. So you can go ahead and download that. The link's gonna be in the description for you. Now, once you open Blender up for the first time, it might be a little intimidating, but it's okay because I'm gonna go through how to use it and make it pretty simple. So we're gonna create a new file. We're gonna click general because we're not doing any of that. And you're gonna see 3 things. You're gonna see a camera, cube, and a light, and you're just gonna wanna select all of it and delete them. You can click X and then it'll come up with the delete button, by the way. Now, movement is a lot different than Roblox Studio, so it might be a little confusing at first, but I'm going to show a simple way that I use because it's more similar to Roblox Studio. But first, the way that most people use is if you click the mouse button, you can move around and look around the object or the center point. And then if you use the scroll wheel, you can scroll in and out from the object. So first, let's start off by spawning in a new square. So we're going to click Shift and A on the keyboard. We're going to see mesh here and then go over to cube. Once you spawned in your first cube, you can scroll around it, scroll in, just get used to using Blender because it's going to be really helpful. Now, the way that I like to use Blender is I use Shift and F, and that will go into free mode. And pretty much you can just look around and use WASD just like you're playing a video game. So pretty much just look around the cube without doing all the mouse button work and stuff like that. Now, you'll see we're currently in object mode. If you click object mode, you can get into different modes here, which is object and edit. These are going to be the 2 we use the most, but to switch back and forth, you can just click tab on your keyboard and it'll switch back and forth pretty quickly. You can see the edit mode brings up all the vertices on the cube, so you can take them, come over here to the move and move the vertices around to create new objects. And that's pretty much the basics of that. Now, there are different types of modes. If you click 1, that's the vertices mode, which we're on right now. If you click 2, that's the lines mode. I'm not sure the specific name, but pretty much you can select lines. And then if you click 3, that's the faces mode, and you can select entire faces. And if those aren't the keybinds for you, the same exact thing is on the top left of your screen right here. Now, to start off simple, the first thing we're going to create is a little bush because that's pretty much the most simple thing you can create. So what we're going to do is come down here to the modifiers tab and we're going to click it. We're going to add a modifier. Make sure you have the cube you just added in selected, and then you're going to do a subdivision surface here. Once you add that in, it should change the entire look of your cube. And then if you go back into edit mode, you can see the every vertex of the cube before it was edited, and pretty much that'll allow us to change it around. So if you want to select all of those, you can move it up and down, and as you can see, it changes it. If you click G on your keyboard, it lets you move it in weird directions. So what I'm going to do is just grab each vertex of the cube and just move it around to create a weird looking shape here, and pretty much it's going to resemble a bush. Okay, so I just moved it around a little bit more, and this pretty much is what I finished with. I think it looks pretty good for a low poly bush, and what we're going to do next is right click it, shade it smooth, so it becomes that low poly type of style that we want. And then you're going to want to come down here to this green little triangle and click the normals tab, auto smooth, and turn it to 65 degrees is what I use personally. And now you've created your first low poly bush in Blender. Next, which is in most popular Roblox games, is leaderboards, and I'm going to show you how to create a simple one real quick just so you can get the hang of Blender. So what we're going to want to do is make sure we're in object mode and then click Shift A again, go to mesh and cube, and then we're just going to want to click the little move thing up here at the top left and drag it along this side so that we can move it away from the bush. Now, what we need to do is create the legs of the leaderboard first. So what we're going to want to do is turn it to edit mode, click A to select all of the vertices, click S, and then scale on the Z axis. So click Z because Z is up and down. And then we're just going to want to pull the mouse away, and it should go up a lot and make a huge leg here. And this is what we're going to use as the first leg of the leaderboard. I'm actually going to make it a little bit smaller there. So this is the first leg of the leaderboard. Perfect. So now you have the first cube done. We're going to want to go back to object mode, right click this, copy and paste it. Now we have our 2 legs. Now what we need to do is create the center. So what I'm going to do is add another cube in, bring it to the middle here, scale it on the Z axis, and then to scale it side to side, we're going to click S and X, and then you should be able to scale it. Now this is way too thick, honestly, for a leaderboard. So what you're going to want to do is click S and Y to make it thinner, and then I'm going to bring it up a little bit more, and now you just have a basic little leaderboard, but you can make that in Roblox. So we want to do some special things that only you can do in Blender and really enhances the looks. So what I'm going to do first is come to this first leg here. I'm going to go back into edit mode, which is tab, click the top face, and then extrude this with the E button. So I'm going to extrude it around 1.25. So you can just click E and then type in 1.25. You'll see it at the top left of the screen. Click enter, and then you're going to want to click S to scale it again, and you can just scale it in just like that. And then if you need to move it up or down, you can do that as well. So now you already have your first thing done, and what I want to do is actually add some rigid edges to this pole. So what I'm going to do is come on the left side in edit mode again, and I'm going to find this loop cut button. I'm going to click it and make sure it's in the middle, and perfect. You now have your first loop cut done. We're going to go back to move here, and then once we have all of these vertices selected, which you can see right here, we have all the vertices selected, you can click S to scale it in or make it bigger. And for this one, I think I'm going to make it a little bit bigger just because we're going for a low poly style. And then I'm going to select all of them, come over to the left side and click bevel once again, bevel it and make sure it looks nice. Perfect. And now you have your first pole done. So what we can do is go back and actually delete this old one and copy and paste the new one over. Now for the leaderboard itself, I'm going to do the same thing, go into edit mode, make a loop cut in the middle, and then I'm going to S to scale, bring it up or down, depending on how you want it. And I think this one would look better like this. So I'm going to do that, scale it up. Now I'm going to want to fly over here, I guess is what you could call it, and select these different edges. And then I'm going to scroll out here, and then I'm going to select the bottom ones, and then I'm going to click right click extrude faces and extrude them up. Oh, sorry. You're going to want to click extrude faces along normals, which will extrude them in their own individual directions. And you're going to want to do that. Perfect. Then all you have to do is select all of it. I'm going to scale mine down a little bit. Yours might be perfect size, but I'm scaling mine down. You're going to want to select these 2 faces, click I to shrink them in, and then you can push it in like this, and perfect. You now have a leaderboard made. Now to export these into Roblox Studio, all we're going to do is go to File, Export, and export it as an FBX file. Then you can just save it anywhere into your folders and name it whatever you want. Now once you go back to Roblox Studio, all you need to do is come back to this view panel at the top, click the asset manager at the top left, and click this little download looking button. Then select your file that you just downloaded and click apply all. Then Roblox will import all of those files from Blender, and all you have to do is click all of these. So I click the top one, hold shift and click the bottom to select all of them, right click and insert, and now you've inserted it into Roblox Studio. So you can color it yourself. You can make it whatever color you'd like. So you can go like this and then make these maybe like a little bit darker. I'm just giving an example. And then for the bush, you can make it a green, scale it up a little bit. Boom, you have a bush. And those are how you make some pretty simple models in Blender. I think it's a lot better because it makes the games run faster and it uses a lot less triangles than Roblox Studio's unions. Next, we're going to be going over some common plugins that Roblox builders use all the time. And the first one is going to be Add Easy Textures by Roboy. I'll put the link to this one in the description because I'm not really sure how to pronounce that name. But essentially what it does is if you open it up, it gives you a huge list of free textures to use in your game. So all you have to do is go and press the part you'd like to be textured, which is going to be the base plate in my instance. And then you're going to want to click any texture you want. So let's just say I want to do, let's just do grid lines. So I'm going to click the grid lines. I'm going to say the top because it's the top where we're looking at. The transparency, I'm going to want it to be 0.9. I feel like that's the best. And you can change the color and all that, but we don't really need to mess with any of that. You can click add texture, and then you're going to see the texture is applied to the top of the base plate. And this plugin is an easy, free way to get a bunch of free textures for your game. And honestly, it makes a huge difference having no texture versus texture because it really helps differentiate different areas in your map. The next plugin I want to go over is 3D text. I use this in a lot of my builds to get a nice looking clean text for my buildings. And all you're going to want to do is activate the cursor once you open it up. And once you do that, all you do is press where you'd like the text. I'd like it right there on my leaderboard. And then you can come here, open this up a little bit more, type in what you'd like. So I'm just going to say that one, Rodev is cool, because, you know, I am. And you can change your font. So whichever font you'd like, just go ahead and click it. I'm going to go with a nice Grand Hotel scheme, or not scheme, I meant theme or font. Okay. And then you can scale it up and down. You can choose whether or not the thickness is high or low. Like if you want to make it really thick, you can definitely make it thick. And then all you do is come down here, choose the color. We're going to make it a nice green. And then you can come here and click finalize. And pretty much that's what this does. It pretty much just allows you to add in text that's 3D. I'm going to move it back to give you guys just like an example of how cool it actually can look. So this is pretty much what it just created for me. Now, the final plugin is used really commonly when you're making paths and stuff like that. So all you're going to want to do is go to the plugins and search in Archimedes and open that up. Once you do that, you can create a little path block here as I showed before. And then once you have your path made, all you want to do is change the angle to be more realistic. I'm going to flip the sides, or sorry, not flip the sides. I'm going to flip the axis, and then I'm going to render it. And then you can just create cool pathways, keep switching the angles up. You can go back around like this way, flip axis again. You can go around this way, create a little turn, flip the axis again, create a little turn, flip the axis, turn it. You get the point. Pretty much it allows you to create cool pathways, and you can create cool circles, stuff like that. I'll show you guys how to create a circle. Say you just add in a little cube like this, put the angle at around 15, and then click render all 23, and it'll go ahead and render the entire circle for you. Now, the one thing I do have to say with this plugin is I would say try and avoid using it as much as you can. Keep the pathways to minimal and try and come up with other ways to create paths like rock paths or trails, stuff like that. But anyways, those are plugins I most use when I build my maps. So the final thing I'm going to be going over when creating maps, which is a secret, is my lighting settings. And these are the lighting settings I use to achieve a more cartoony look. For the ambient, I try and do a dark pink or purplish color, and I leave the color shifts both black and make sure that both environment settings are set to 1. Then for the outdoor ambient, I try and do a similar color, but I go closer to the purple and blue area. Next, for shadow softness, really it's just your preference, but it doesn't change much. I'd say for a cartoony look, try and stay above 3 or 0.3. Then for the clock time, again, whatever you think looks best in your build. I personally use 8.6 in a lot of builds for my daytime/morning time. Now, for fog color, I use the same exact color as the outdoor ambient, and I set the fog to around 2000 to 3000. Really depends on the size of your map, so you can just copy and paste that over. Next, you're going to come up to the lighting settings here and add in a color correction effect. Here, the brightness is going to be 0.1, the contrast is going to be 0.15, and the saturation is going to be 0.25. Now, for the tint color, I personally don't use it, but you can make a very faint yellow if you're trying to go for a warmer look, or a light blue if you're trying to go for a cooler look. And just so you can see how much lighting actually changes a build, here's a little before and after picture. And with that being said, that's all I have for this video. If you guys enjoyed this free building tutorial, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on my Discord or simply leave a comment below. I read all of them. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.